Hey, this is Pops. I was going to show you some of my Neway stuff, but you know what? The video crapped out on me. Don't know why. So we're going to try again. Wanted to show you one of the first things we do. There's a bulb. It's in the bag. I keep it in the bag because moisture bothers the MagnaFlux powder. 2 rare earth magnets. Okay, there's your valve seat pocket cutters that I was talking about. They cut the pocket for your valve seat. Set the adjustments, cut the pocket, and then you use one of the little drivers here, match it up with a valve seat, hook it to the handle, and drive it on over one of these pilots. And I have about 200 pilots. You want to cut the pocket. This bolts to the head, the shaft, and other sundry parts goes through the hole onto the guide. So this shaft will sit over the guide with a cutter and cut your pocket off the upper drive. I was mentioning before that it's relatively expensive, the multi-speed driver that I have hanging right over there. There it is, up there on the wall, right next to the straight edges, straight bar actually, and straight edge. And that's multi-speed, permanent magnet, and relatively expensive. Stands I got with Neway as well, plus some others. I modified those 2 ways. One of them is I put this bar in here so I can drive guides on them without the things bending, and they slide around too much, so I put a crossbar in them. I should have done it on one side, but I did it in the middle and it works out generally okay. Checking your valve springs. This is an old drill press that I modified. You put your homeowner drill in there and you got a drill press kind of thing. Yeah. I put a stop sleeve on there to set the depth there at the height of the spring, and when you get it set to where it's supposed to be, it'll tell you the pressure when you just move that rascal down. It works very well. Neway VFR 1000. I told you I have a lot of the Neway stuff. I do. There it is. There's a 3/8 collet in there now. This is a brace to help some of the vibration and support this, just a spring to go on there and absorb some of the vibration that you might get sometimes. Little cutters in there, easy to change. So multi-speed, the collet, and there's a hand knob in the back there so you can tighten it. The thing works very, very well. So those are some of my Black & Decker, and that's behind this thing. And there it is. It's old, but it still works fairly well. Best thing it works for is back here, refacing rocker arms. Yeah, the tip where it hits the valve, refacing them, and retipping the valves where you get your chamfer and your flat end on it. Works very well for most of that. This is my little John Deere head where I have to get the torch out and cut the plate. That's what I've been working on lately. This one almost needed a valve seat, and I mean I just well, I guess that guide works. That's a bronze guide liner that I put in there. It's just a shade short, but it should be okay. And you can see the seat's nice all the way around, and it turned out, that line there, it's quite concentric. Turned out nice. I still got to run a little bit something through there. It's a little rough. I got to clean that up. But the rest of these original valve guides, well, original replaced valve guides maybe. Actually, I think they were original, but these are replacement valves. No doubt in my mind about that. Later on, I'll put this on the Platin sander for resurfacing, and when I get that torched out, we'll do some pressure testing and make sure that places that I can't see the MagnaFluxing, that we make sure it isn't rusted through. All right, pilots. Oh my goodness. Let me put this away first, and I need 2 hands to do it. Yes, this is a relatively tight fit, and I wanted to put them both in here. This may change later. I got a feeling I'm going to put my valve pocket cutter in a different location. All right. Now, I was talking to you about the Gizmatic. I'll show you in a minute. And the valve spinner. There you go. This is a 37.5 degree that they have for the Ford Power Stroke. There you go. This rascal fits on there. flip your handle over to the other side and turn it. Does a very smooth job compared to the old T-handle. Worth every dollar. More pilots. I got pilots all over the place. All kinds of brushes for cleaning the guides. Tools for working the cast iron. Valve guide drivers. Valve guide reamers. Actual knurlers. They'll tell you knurling is garbage. No, it's not. It's just not common, and it's not, how can you say it? It's not like you're making everything new. You're making it good. Some of the other stuff, your bronze guide liners there, a bunch of them. Driving hammer. But to get back to the Neway, you have pilots out the wazoo in the kit that I had. Tools for it, but there they are. So, some of the more common cutters. Yep, for the overcut, I usually only have 3 cutters in there. And then the seat cut, you make sure there's all 5 in there so it cuts well and smooth. Bottom end, quite often the same thing. You want to hog a little metal, so I'm going to have 3 in there. And 5 works a little smoother if you need it. But if you're turning by hand, you rarely need it. Different sizes all the way up through. I've got some monsters available over in another drawer there. I was going to bring them out here, but I don't think I did. Just this. No, I did. A series of valve seats. Oh, no, I didn't. There's a little box of valve guides. They're all tapered. And the tapered valve guides are more accurate. All right, the Gizmatic. There it is. Set the vise. Set it in the vise. There's the taper for the valve. I should say the V. You can set the thing in the vise. And then the cutter. I try to keep it wrapped. There's 45 degree and 30 degree side. Sets in here. You spin the valve with this, and once you finish clamping the valve on the vise, after you push the valve down in here snug, finish clamping it in the vise, start turning, and this is your feed. Back it all the way off and then slowly turn it and turn by hand. It cuts the valve beautifully. Does a sweet job. It's not necessarily cheap, but it is inexpensive compared to any other way. I think it's, by now I guess it's probably in the neighborhood of $500 or so. Worth every nickel. iSave Tractors, I think, will sell something like that to you. There's a bunch of them online that'll sell them, but I'd go to Neway Manufacturing Inc. and you'll find them out in Corona, Michigan. Give them a call. They'll take care of you. That's how I got this. I think it was direct from them. Sometimes you'll find some of this stuff on eBay even, and Amazon. So, some of my larger cutters. Yeah. I don't use it very often, so those cutters are in some other cutter head. In fact, some of these they come through with no cutters. Well, there's a 60 and a 15 to go with that. Small cutter heads, little 1/4-inch jobbies for small engine. Someday when I get some money, I want to buy the 15 and the 30 for the 1/4-inch. So I'll be able to do small engine too. A little easier, I should say. Because now I can. But you have to have the big pilots to do it, and that gets cumbersome. There's my mini vise that I take with me to operate that. Clamps onto any old 2x4 or some surface. My head stands for, this is designed to go on the road to do flatheads and such. And then some other small heads. Briggs & Stratton valve guide puller if you put a bronze guide in. And there's the tap. Oh yeah. Forgot what I built that for. There's a valve guide reamer. There's the small pilot series. Valve guide drivers, reamers. I got a gauge. I actually have a gauge, go, no go gauge. That's all Briggs stuff. This is all other stuff. Briggs & Stratton here. General Briggs & Stratton there. Valve seat puller. And these are the left and right holders for 8N Ford, 9N Ford, Model A, and maybe Model T Fords. But the Neway stuff is what I primarily wanted to show you. This thing is beautiful. First thing I used it on was a Hatz diesel. I put the exhaust and intake in there, spun it up, cleaned it up, put the engine together, and ran it. The guy says, "You're overhauling it just to check that." And I said, "Sure I am. You want to play?" "Yes, I do." "You want to play with it on the company time?" "So of course I do." "Yeah, and you're just going to throw the valves away." And I said, "No, I'm going to put the engine together with those valves." And I did successfully. Now I'd like to get a little bit more of a small lathe later on to do silly stuff for me. This is a spacer. I had a Caterpillar, I think a D330 something, 334 head. The guy brought big, monstrous pre-combustion chamber, 4-cylinder, and a D4 cat. And what this was designed for was to run the shaft of the seat pocket cutter down inside the hole where I just put a couple of pins in for cracks on the pre-combustion chamber. What happened was the chamber is big on top with an O-ring and it's small at the bottom and screws into the head and goes into the combustion chamber. And it gets to wobbling and it cracks the head. So what I had done when I put the pins in, I needed to smooth them out. I had this with that shaft and with a seat pocket cutter that could give me a nice flat surface to put the thing together on. Now, when I put the pins in too, I needed a way to stabilize a pilot. So I had a guy build these for me so I could screw this into the head backwards, put a pilot in, or actually this way, from the back of the face of the head, put the pilot in from this side, our side where we're looking, and then I was able to run the cutter down and clean up the seat. This was the tap to clean up the threads after I put the pin in to be sure they were clear. To give you an idea, that was inexpensive enough that the guy had said it still has a little bit of a combustion leak, and I said, "Bring it back." I said, I'll double check it again." He says, "No, sir, you will not." And I said, "Why not?" You know what he said? He said, "It's never started on its own since I owned it." He says, "It will start on its own down below 50 degrees now. You will never see that head off of there again as long as I live. It runs too good." So what did he do? He just loosened up this radiator cap and let her go. And he said even then it didn't cause any trouble because it was a non-pressurized system. Last thing I want to show you, because I do some resurfacing on the platen sander back there. There's my belt sander. This is a comparator. You put it on there to check your surface finish. 40 to 50 RA as they call it, roughness average. Recommended finish back then, 50 to 110 RA, 100 or 80 to 100 RA preferred. Now this was for iron and steel. So what would I be running? I'd be running in this middle group here, semi-rough. And that's for cast iron. For aluminum, we wanted a much finer. Why? Because aluminum expands and contracts faster than the steel. So it actually walks across the gasket. And you don't put sealer on an aluminum head gasket. You're putting it together. Because if you do glue it to the aluminum head, you've screwed up the fact that it's going to expand and contract. Yeah, Monroe Tractor, I worked there for a while and got screwed badly. They agreed to up my money. And then they sat down at a meeting and said, "Yes, we did agree to it." Yeah, okay. So what are you going to do? "I have to look into it further." Yeah, well, I looked out of it further. Gone. Got out of there. It was worth it to go $1 an hour more and drive 90 miles a day than it was to put up with their crap any for longer. So, yes, this goes with the Neway VFR 1000. I put this in the 3/8 collet, and then I can put the valve on there and do both the taper and clean the butt end. Ah, yes, they're seat pilots. They sit on the valve seat so that I can run a reamer down through the head to ream for these bronze valve guides. They work super. Remember I showed you the one for the cast iron guides? And there they are. Yes, these are old. They need a cleaning. But other than that, they're in great shape. These are made by Ertl. I don't think I can find Ertl stuff anymore. Well, anyway, that's all I wanted to show you for today. Just to give you an idea of what I have here. I'm not even sure if you can see me because I can't reverse this. So I'm just talking away here at the face of the phone. And I got to get back to work, but I thought since I've talked about it enough on the seat pocket cutters Neway, the seat cutters, the refacing VFR 1000, the Gizmatic, the little seat cutter turning tool, all of that. And I did show you on the wall there the variable speed. Downstairs I have a single speed, and I bought it just has a toggle on and off, and I bought a foot pedal for it, treadle, so that I can turn it on and off, because it's just one of those things where you pop it on and off, you've got a little more control of just your seats. It doesn't work because you can't lower the speed enough to cut your valve seat. And on those big ones you need a slow speed. So to cut the torque, well, the torque stays the same on that unit, but your speed comes down. And it's got quite the outfit in there to control the speed on a DC motor. Permanent magnet, and it works well. That's it for today. You've seen most everything that I have and how I handle it. The only other thing I think I did miss with you, I showed it before, but these are little ball tools that you turn that top handle and you run the taper in and out, measure your valve guides with those. And for the larger guides, because you do run into, well, there's other measuring tools, calipers over there that I prefer, but I also have small set of snap gauges for, but John Deere has some that have 5/8 valve guides in them. 5/8 valve guides? Yeah, I do. So I hope I'm seeing you well. If not, peace out, and we'll catch you later on the flip side. And any questions, feel free to message me. I'll be around somewhere, as I am retired and enjoying life out here in the shop. See ya. Oh yeah, in God we trust, Eastwood Summit, Felpro, all kind of crap.